Coming to you live from a modest house. This is Optimal Play. I'm Brandon.
I'm Josh.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Kellen.
And this is what I've been calling a casual learn to play, where, so you know, you're on the internet. You know how there's lots of great learn to play videos for board games that are scripted and have great B-roll and all that stuff. This isn't one. This is me teaching this game, Gempire Zarmund's Demands. Had to look at that. To my friends so that we can play it together on a playthrough. This game is not out yet. It is coming to Kickstarter in September, and it was provided as a copy was provided to us by Gempire Games. So thank you for that. This game is what is this game? This is an auction game, right? I guess.
Yeah, an auction game, auction tableau builder.
Yeah, there we go.
Some secret bidding going on?
There is, yeah. As you can see, most of the table has played it. Kellen is our actual guinea pig here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
I know you well enough to know that.
Thank you.
You're right. This is a city builder. We'll ultimately be bidding on these cards, like the ones out here: Modest House, Boutique Shop, and Vineyard. We'll be using them to make rows of cards that represent our city. They will accumulate resources for us they're all laid out here. There's population, gold, and culture, and that is all to the end of satisfying 2 of King Zarmund's demands, which change from game to game. So we have 3 of them laid out here. They are, and we'll explain them in greater detail, or take one more look at them when we have some more details about how the game plays. But the sum of your highest attribute and science must be at least 130. There's have at least, for a 4-player game, we'll use the middle number here, 8 cards with a value of 10 or more, and have a sum of at least 12 gold and culture gems. So you win this game if at any point you are simultaneously meeting 2 of these 3 goals. And then the game will end and you win. The way the game works, we play a series of rounds. In each round, we are going to roll these resource dice. They look, does my zoomed in view show them? Perfect. Look something like this. There's only 2 symbols that can appear on these dice. They are these flask symbols. Those are science. And they're these hammers, and that's production. And so we'll roll those dice. These are shared. Everyone uses them in the same way. But we'll roll those, and then everyone is going to take one action, and we're all going to simultaneously decide what that action is privately using this board that let's zoom in on this. Using this board here. This board has sections at the top to track your population, your gold, and your culture, because that gets mathy, as you can see, as you're building buildings that add 5 and 9 and multipliers and all this stuff. And then the bottom sections here is for writing down what your action is going to be. So we will roll those dice, we will all choose an action, and then we will simultaneously reveal and we'll resolve that. The resolution is also simultaneous and kind of messy. When we do a playthrough video, I think we'll try to bring some order to it. We'll figure out at that time how to clean that part up. But if you want to, one of the actions you can take is to take resources. You might need resources to bid on things or research technologies. So if you take resources, you will get the resources that are showing on the dice. So we all have the same opportunity to use our actions to take resources and get what's currently on these dice. In this example, 2 science and 6 production. There's a couple caveats or a couple ways that can change. But in general, if you're going to take the resource action, you'll write what you're going to get in these 2 boxes here with those same symbols. How well does that play on camera? There we go. And then the other thing is that at least at the start of the game, and this can be increased, you have a cap of 5 production. Production is represented by these gray coins, so you can only have 5 of them. And so you will write down whatever you'll gain. In this case, with 6 production on the dice, I would write 5, because that's as much as I can gain, and then 2 science. So with that as my action, when I reveal, that is all that I'll do in the resolution phase, is take my 5 production and 2 science. Any questions on that so far?
Nope. And I assume you can upgrade this at some point in the future to increase your production?
Yes. That is what the gems do in these clacky containers, so we will touch on that shortly.
Cool.
Another action that you can take is you can bid on the cards that are available here. They are labeled A, B, and C. I've actually turned this upside down because the deck, the way that we're sitting, the deck that we, or if the deck was in the slot for the deck, it would be blocking your view of the cards. That's so that is why this is upside down compared to everything else. So we'll go with their labels. But once you have production in your possession, you can bid on these buildings. They have, so that you'll bid on them by writing your bids. And so this is instead of taking resources, you would decide to bid. You can write your bids by dividing up your production, and you don't have to spend all of it, but you can't spend more than you have on your bids on these three. So like I might bid 2 on the vineyard, 0 on the boutique shop in the middle, and 1 on the modest house. And so that's what I would write if my action is to bid. When we reveal our actions, the people who did decide to bid on these cards are compared to each other. Whoever bid the most on a card pays that and gains that card. Anyone else who bid and lost that auction spends 1 production. So you actually get punished for bidding and losing in this game.
Sorry, and your production is a combination of science and this?
No,
No.
it's just the
Production is the name of the coins.
That you get for taking resources. Or no, production entirely...
No, you get them by taking resources, yeah. So the hammers on the dice, that is how much production you can take if you do the resource action, and you will take that many of these coins.
Resource. Okay.
Science is separate, which we haven't touched on what that's
there's hammers
for
on
yet.
these. I can't see it. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
You're spending your production bidding on those. You don't have to bid. You can bid on 1 or all 3 of them, and you can win anywhere from 0 to 3 of them, depending on how it goes. But yeah, it's really important to keep in mind that if you get outbid, you get punished for it. It's a big part of the mind games going on here is how painful it is to bid and lose.
But in this example, for your B bid, you would not be penalized for that, but you could lose up to 2 production.
Correct. It actually might
at all.
Yeah, it might have actually been clearest. I put a little dash here as I was talking through it. I would probably actually leave that blank.
Yeah.
Like if you write nothing there, you are not bidding, and you don't lose that one. Then you just didn't try.
Yep.
One other thing about
never try is what.
That is the lesson.
Unless you succeed, never try, children.
You heard it here first. So the one other thing going on with bidding is that there are numbers down here in the corners of these cards. See if those play on camera. Yeah, there they are. That is the minimum bid on those buildings. They're low numbers because also you can only have up to 5 production. They're usually 1, 2, sometimes 3 or 4. But yeah, so that's just a minimum bid.
And does that deck have a graduation to it at all, or is that deck just totally random?
The deck is totally randomized.
So they'll always be quite low.
Yes. The vast majority of them are 1s and 2s.
Great.
You might want to bid more than that because you want to beat Josh, but
yes,
which is why we're all here today. Okay, when you acquire some buildings, we can talk about putting them in your city. So you will be taking these buildings. They're cards that you'll grab from the row. The row will be replenished from the deck. You can see also, I forgot to touch on, the top card of the deck is face up. It is not something you can bid on. It is just a glimpse at what will be available the following round. So when you take possession of these cards, you take all the cards that you won, like grab them all at once, and then place them into your city however you'd like. The first card that you put into your city, you'll just place a card on the table in front of you. From there, you must add in all future buildings directly to the left or right of your row. You can never insert a card between existing cards. And it gets a little bit complicated because then you have to start thinking about your districts. There are 3 colors of these frames of the cards, and they are associated with the 3 attributes that they generate. Green generates population, the gold ones generate gold, and purple, although this is an example of a hybrid one, purple generates culture. A district is a cluster of cards in your city row that are all the same type of card, and you can only have 3 districts in your row. So essentially, once you... Let me see if I can find a purple card here. Wow, they're all green at the top of the deck. Here we go. If I have these 2 cards here, and I'm treating this one as gold, we can touch more on hybrid in a second. If I put a green to the left and a purple to the right, I now have 3 districts, a green one, a gold one, and a purple one, but I have sandwich my gold in the middle, I will never be able to add another gold card to this row. So you've got to think ahead about like when you're closing yourself off of options. A couple other things about the cards. Yeah, I did say some of them are hybrid. When you take possession of a hybrid card, you decide at that moment and permanently commit to whether it's going to be, in this case, gold or purple, and it will generate the associated attribute. So you're only getting one or the other of this example of 9 gold or 7 culture from the vineyard. If I wanted this to be treated as a purple card, I would put it with the purple side sort of facing the center, the play area. That much makes sense? The other things are, and I don't have any good examples of them here, but there are cards that generate attributes for based on variables, like hotels. Actually, no, that's not a good example. Where is one? Okay, here we go. Here's a weird example. We have the port. This is a gold building. It generates 2 gold. Plus 5 gold for each row in your city. We'll talk about how you can get a second row, but with at least 6 buildings. And then this hotel, if you use it as its gold side, it counts as 5 gold buildings. It doesn't inherently generate any gold, but it counts as 5 buildings for the purposes of things that care about building counts.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
And are buildings giving you stuff right now and at the end of the game, or mostly right now, or both?
Yeah, good question. They are, like, have you played Suburbia? It's a city builder using hex tiles, and they generate resources, but every time you put something next to them, you redo all of the, like, things that they're providing you. It's like that. So anything with variables to it, you are, as you add to your city, you're revisiting those and making sure to update your counts accordingly.
Yep.
Which is why it's good that the game has given you these spots to track these attributes, because it gets pretty mathy.
Yep.
As you have a green building that generates 3 population per green building to the left of it, you'll have to count it. And that's another aspect, is that sometimes positioning like that left and right matters, or adjacent. You'll be updating those and revising those numbers as you go.
Cool.
Yeah, so for this city, I would have, at this point, written 4 population, 5 gold, and 17 culture. And what these attributes do is for every 10 that you get, you gain a gem. Gems had to be in here somewhere because it's called Gempire. You gain a gem of the same color. I don't know if you can actually even tell on camera that this is purple, but I promise you it is. The gems all do different things. But yeah, each attribute, you get a gem for every 10 that you get. In theory, I think you lose a gem if you like drop below that 10, but I'm not even sure there's ways to reduce your attribute tallies.
I don't think so.
I could have sworn the rulebook said that you can lose the gems, but I've never seen a way that in practice that would happen. But maybe I dreamt it. So what these gems do is listed on your reference here, but for each green gem that you have from 10 population, you can hold 1 more production. So that's how you increase your production capacity. Yep. For each gold gem that you have, which comes from 10 gold, you can switch a resource on the dice. So when you take a resource action, the number of gold gems that you have is how many basically symbols you can swap for the other symbol. So if with the 6 production, 2 science, if I had 2 gold gems, I could write down 4 and 4, which would mean that I had swapped 2 of the production out and turned them into science. Did that make sense? It's a little fiddly.
Yeah. So you're saying that, like, the values on these, it's like 1 for 1 if it's a 1 that's rolled when I use a gold to switch it.
Yes.
You're always switching a symbol for another symbol. It doesn't matter like how many. You're not going die by die, right? You're going icon by icon.
Right, so this would be if this were the only one that rolled, everything else came up blank. It's 2 production. If you've got 1 gold gem, you could make that 1 production, 1 science. If you have 2 gold gems, you can make it 2 science.
I see. Oh, you're switching 1 symbol from the totals, essentially. You can almost abstract it out of the dice. I do have a question. Is gold a gem?
That is a great question. The answer is yes.
It's a gold colored gem.
It's a gold colored gem. It's I guess it's probably just amber or something. I don't know why your boutique shop is generating it, but here we are.
I was told to ask stupid questions.
I explicitly said not the stupid ones, I think. But you do you, Kellen.
There's another function of gold.
There is, yeah. Thank you.
You're cutting the tension.
Thank you. As my train of thought was derailed. I'm kidding about the stupid questions, by the way. Bring them on. You'll notice it here on the goal on the sheet. It says switch or create one resource. Creating a resource seems strictly better, and this is maybe worded a little confusingly. You can only create resources if you have more gold gems than total icons were rolled on the dice. So the gold gems that you have are also essentially a minimum income. Does that make sense? If you have 4 gold gems, and because these dice have blanks on them, so if you have 4 gold gems and all that was rolled was
3.
Like 3. This is a wild. This is one or the other. Then you could take these and add a 4th of your choice.
Yep, and you're never spending these gems. They're just strictly
correct.
They're just
expressed
there.
to you.
Yep. They never go anywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So essentially, with 4 gold gems, you're guaranteed every turn to get 4 resources of your choice.
Yeah, no matter what comes up.
Right.
Yep. And so that's a really
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of confusion from that because this says switch or create, and so people look down at that and say like, oh, well, I want to use my gold to create more resources. Not actually what it means. It just means that you can create up to, if you're like below the number of gems that you have.
Cool.
The third type of gem, which comes from culture, is the purple gems. It's what this flag is for that we all have. And you'll notice that it says 1, 2, 3. These the demands up here are objectives to win, although the 3 is kind of covered up by my torso here. They're labeled with these 1, 2, and 3 tokens. When you acquire a purple gem, you immediately put it on your 1, 2, or 3, and you've permanently committed it there. And then each objective tells you what putting purple gems toward corresponding with that objective does.
Yep.
It helps you achieve that objective. So, for example, this objective number 1 set up here, the sum of your highest attribute and science must be 130 or more. Each purple gem that you put on 1 contributes 6 to that, 6 towards that 130. The objective here, have at least 8 cards with a value of 10 plus. For every 2 gems that you put on 2, it reduces the requirement of the quantity of cards required by 1. And for have a sum of at least 12 golden culture gems, for every purple gem that you put on 3, it adds +1 towards you reaching that 12. And it also still, since it's a culture gem, it also still counts itself. So you're kind of like doubling its contribution to that objective.
Yep.
Okay. Any question on gems?
Nope.
We've got 2 things left to talk about, two broad strokes. They are science and upgrading our city. There's actually a third action that you can take that I'm going to circle back to and talk about last. So science is the other resource that we can get when we take the resource action, as we mentioned. When you gather science, it's not represented by tokens. It is used. It is marked on this track by moving your colored cube up this track. It's a be careful not to bump it. It's easy to do. It's got very small spaces on this track. So you simply move up this.
Very long beakers.
They are very long beakers, increasingly long. Yeah. Also, this one seems to have like a bulge out at the top. I've never seen one like that.
Useful for certain things.
Yeah. I guess.
Isn't it? Right?
You could say. Don't answer that. Family program.
I have the hardest time getting back on track. The heat is getting to me too. It's a little warm in Los Angeles today. The things science are for, 2 things. One is researching technologies. There are 5 cards, and they are randomly put out here from a deck of about 20, so they also vary from game to game like the objectives do. You can spend your science on researching those technologies. They're pretty powerful. Want to read the one you're looking at?
Yes. Masonry. Immediately build a second row for free.
So that's a great straightforward example, although we haven't talked much about our second row. Another example is iron, which lets you take these hybrid cards we talked about and treat them as both instead of one or the other.
Cool.
It counts all the effects of each hybrid. Economics just gives you 5 gold per shop that you have, which I glanced at the rule book. That is any building with shop in its name, like the boutique shop. That's an odd one, but twists what you'd be looking for at auction a little bit. So when you acquire these technologies there are numbers printed along the bottom. When you want to research technology, you will spend that much of your accumulated science and mark the technology with a cube there. You can see that those numbers get higher as we go, so if you are slower to research them, you're going to end up paying more. But if two people want to research the same technology in the same resolution phase, they can, and they would just both put their cubes there and get that price. And then the next person would still get to, even though they would be the third to research economics, for example, they could still go in the second slot. You don't, however, and this is I've never quite seen anything like this. You don't actually lose the science that you've spent. You don't move backwards on the track. This track still tracks the cumulative science you've gained. Instead, you essentially do the math of how much you have left to spend, if that makes sense. What I like to do is up here in the corner of this, like if I research economics for 15, I like jot a 15 up here. And then if I also did iron for 15, I would cross it out and have 30. And so I can kind of easily track the math that way. The other thing that science is for, and this may be actually its most important function, is that there will be a lot of ties on bidding because the bidding is so, what's the opposite of granular? Chunky or something.
Spiky.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
it's so small, the variance between numbers.
Well said.
Yeah.
So ties go to the person who's the highest on the science track.
The smartest.
So, exactly. Yeah. So if you're the smartest person as measured by these flasks, then then you have a huge leg up on the auctions. And the person who loses the tie still loses a production because they lost the auction. Yeah. So
okay.
So that's big. The last thing to touch on is actually the third type of action you can take, which is upgrading your city. So you can see it's shown here in the reference card on kind of this row here, the city upgrades. But so this is something that instead of taking resources or bidding, you would use this box to write the upgrade that you're doing. One of them is to add a second row to your city. It costs 5 production, and so you would like write second row in this box, and that would be your action for the turn when we reveal. You would spend 5 production. You would take one of these second row tokens and put it near your city. In my case, I would need to slide it down. And then you can start, as you acquire more buildings, you can start placing them in a second row above these. That row also is limited to 3 districts, but it does not like combine with the ones below it as far as districts go. It also, even though it is like blocks in a city, you kind of have to think of it as if it's a second floor because it cannot build out past the first row. Like the first row must be wide enough to be able to put cards above it in the second row. And those cards always get like lined up directly above it. You can put your first one wherever you want and then you'd be going to the left or right of that. But you...
so it's not the total number, it's actually like physically also that. So if you put that card there, you can't build 3 to the left.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I put this hotel here, I can put a card here and then I can't put a card here until I... put one below. And there's no like shifting the top row in relation to this.
So sorry, the bottom row is always the one that has to lead an expansion then?
Yes.
And would that extend if you get a third row on top of
there is no third row. That you only ever have 2 rows.
Is that philosophical or literal?
The king forbids it in this game. Yeah.
Okay.
he wants he wants 1 street in his cities.
And that costs 5, sorry, is what it's showing.
Yep, that always costs a flat 5.
Okay.
The last thing you can do, and this is also a city upgrade action, is you can upgrade the palace in your city. The palace is kind of an abstract city center. It costs... so it has 5 levels, and you may have noticed that you have this kind of palace token here. When you upgrade your city, like say I upgrade it to level 2, I will mark that by putting this token labeled 2 on it. The cost to upgrade it is listed here on your reference. It is 5 production to upgrade to level 1, 6 to level 2, 7 to level 3, and so on. So you would have to get the population to have that capacity to even think about doing that. You do not have to... You do not have to be level 1 before level 2, though. You can skip to any level. But you can't go backwards.
Skip to any level by paying...
By paying the cost just of that level. Oh. Yeah, so even if you're level 0, because you haven't upgraded yet, you could spend 7 production to become level 3.
Yeah. Efficient.
Exactly. What happens when you level up your palace is there's this track, and these tokens were randomly placed here. They're different from game to game. You look at this track with these tokens that represent benefits that you get, and you get whatever is printed on the level that you upgraded to, and you get everything below it.
Yep.
So when you upgrade it to level 3, in this case, you would get, and this is 2 science per flask symbol on your buildings. That's something that I didn't touch on, but some of the buildings have this like science icon in the corner. Then you would get, in this case, it's a blank. You get nothing at level 2. And level 1 is you get to put a diamond on your city. So diamonds are the 4th kind of gem, and they go on your city cards. They can go onto any card, but they only do anything if they're placed on a card with this diamond symbol in the corner. And what they do, if they're on a card with a diamond symbol in the corner, is double whatever that card is doing.
Cool.
It completely doubles it. There are some cards, I don't have any on the table, that have 2 diamond symbols. They can then have 2 diamonds placed on them, and it will have a net result of tripling the value. So it's the second diamond is not redoubling it to quadruple, it is adding 1 more times its effect.
And when you do the palace upgrade, you have to commit the diamond to a card, even
Yes.
if you don't have a card with which
you do. Yeah, you can't save them for later. And it's actually even a little bit more complex than that. Your very first diamond you can put wherever you want, drop it on one of your cards. Yeah. Any subsequent time that you gain diamonds, whether it's in the same round because you leveled up to 4 and got 3 total diamonds, or whether it's in subsequent rounds, it has to go adjacent to where there's already a diamond. So from the start, one thing to think about when building your city is like you'd like to kind of cluster your diamond symbol buildings together.
Thematically,
so that you can do that.
The reason for that is
doesn't every city have a jewelry district? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a social commentary.
Yeah, there we go. The one other little detail to placing diamonds, I mentioned that you can benefit from having 2 on cards, but you cannot put 2 on the same card in the same palace upgrade. So you would have to put 1 down and spread the rest of your diamonds elsewhere, and then upgrade your palace another time later, and choose to place 1 of your diamonds on a card that already has 1. Did that make sense?
If I upgrade to level 4 in 1 action, I could never put, because I get 3 diamonds to distribute, they could never be on the same card.
They could not.
So that would be a reason why you would upgrade to level 1 and then on a subsequent.
It would.
Okay.
Yep.
It's too powerful.
It would be far too powerful. Have 2 diamonds? Are you kidding me? I think that about covers it. The game, when someone completes or meets 2 of the objectives at the same time, they declare so, like during the resolution phase. And the resolution phase is when we're all simultaneously making decisions.
Yeah.
So everyone else kind of can make small adjustments to what they were just about to do in that resolution phase or something to try to also complete a second objective and tie you, in which case I might have to glance at the rulebook and see what the tiebreaker is. I'll mention that in our playthrough video. Or some of the objectives compare you to other people, have the most science. So if you declare that you're about to win and someone can cause themselves to pass you, like they could crab bucket you a little bit that way. But for the most part,
not by changing their action, but just
by suppose we're choosing
Yeah.
to take resources.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, turns out I'm winning. I'm like, oh, but one of the objectives is most science, and that's what you're winning on. And I'm like, well, I've got all these gold gems over here. I'm going to turn all my production into science.
I think even that is a bad example.
Oh, is it?
Because you have to write down the resources you're taking before the reveal.
Oh, you're
so
right,
I don't think
right.
you can change that. I think an example, and this is really niche. I just wanted to make sure to say it. But if you have a building that gives you 4 science for every culture building placed to the left of it, you might
to the left instead of the right.
Exactly. Yeah, or on the left instead of the second row, which wouldn't contribute, or something like that. Although on that note, a building to the left is still to the left, even if it's on the other row. So all that orientation matters. Anyway, I think that's Gempire. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for joining me for this explanation. We're about to play through this. It'll be a separate video going up tomorrow-ish. If you happen to be watching this the day we post it, we'll be back then after blasting the air conditioner a little bit.
Yes.
It's warm in here. Thank you for watching. The only way to support Optimal Play is to like our videos and subscribe to the channel. So we'd appreciate if you did. With that, we'll see you for the playthrough. Till then, be optimal.